And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What got you in the show business?
I got into the show business I saw the movie Magic with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
And I saw the dummy come to life and kill people. And I said, this is something I need to learn right away. So I started doing ventriloquism when I was about 9 years old after seeing that movie. Wow. And then it kept going from there. I was playing sports when I was really young. I kind of excelled at sports. It was racquetball, actually. And it was a really popular sport. It was actually one of the fastest growing sports in the country when I was growing up. And I was winning all these junior national tournaments. But during the same time, I always was doing magic and ventriloquism. It's kind of a hobby.
Right.
So I went on to play professional racquetball in the 80s and 90s, and it was great. It was awesome traveling around the country, playing these tournaments and doing all kind of things. Then racquetball kind of died, and I was pretty young. Racquetball, the actual professional level of racquetball, really died down. All of a sudden, it looked like it was going to be the next tennis.
Sure.
Then it just kind of peaked, and died down. And I said, what do I do now? So the natural progression after racquetball is to become a ventriloquist.
Right.
Right? That's normal, right?
Yeah, sure.
Now, if anyone should be upset with their parents, it should be me.
Right.
I was a racquetball player that had been ventriloquist.
And your parents had no problem with this?
No, they loved it. They were very supportive. They loved the sports. Because both my brother and I, we both kind of excelled at the sport at a young age. Yeah. And they would drive us around the country, playing tournaments and junior national tournaments. And it was really an amazing time.
So how much did you practice when you were doing this professional
racquetball?
Yeah.
So it was every day. It was my entire life from the time I was 7 years old until I was 25. I played every day.
Didn't bother you? There was no big, because you have plenty of hours you put in, right?
Oh yeah. I used to play 3-4 hours every day.
Yeah.
After school, parents would pick you up, take you over to the club, and we'd play. We'd play every day.
So if it continued, and they said it ended up being like tennis, you would have continued that route, no problem? You wouldn't have burned out?
I know. I think at some point I would have still got into this because I really, this has been a love. I absolutely love it. And to this day, when I go perform, or I'm getting ready for a show, this is kind of fun. I'll be at home getting ready for a show, and I'm in the garage or somewhere in my little workshop, and I'm making a magic trick. And my wife is like, come on, what are you doing? Quit messing around. And I go, I'm working out here, That's
I'm having fun, but I'm working.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like it.
No.
And even, it's just because I'm sitting there playing with magic tricks. Right. So it's amazing that I can do this every day, come out and do something that you love, make people happy. It doesn't get much better, really.
Do you have any magicians, role models? Or?
Yeah, when I grew up, it was Doug Henning.
Okay.
It was huge.
Yes.
And my parents would take me to see Doug Henning. In fact, my dad took me in New York one time. He took me and saw Doug Henning in New York, which was a pretty neat experience. And then, of course, David Copperfield came along, and he's done so much for magic. He's incredible. He's one of my favorites. And those are the two really big ones that come to my mind. It was always Henning when I was young, and then David Copperfield, of course. What he's done for magic is enormous.
Right.
Grew up in St. Louis, Missouri.
Right. And
that's where I was doing all the sports. And then I originally went to Los Angeles to pursue the sports. We had a lot of sporting good companies. Yeah. We were doing a lot of sponsorships, and there was a lot going on for racquetball out there. So I moved out there for that. My wife, who I met in St. Louis, she came out shortly after, and we never looked back. We started our family out there, and now I'm kind of stuck.
You're stuck?
I'm kind of stuck there now. Well, the kids, I got kids now, and they kind of got into the entertainment.
Yeah.
So, it was funny because when my kids were young, my wife said, maybe we ought to get the kids doing some entertainment, And I gave her the whole little bitter lecture because it's hard business. It's tough business, a lot of rejection, And I told her, I said, maybe they shouldn't. There's a lot of rejection. Look how hard it's been for me and what you have to go through and how hard you work. And she just listened to all this. Then she took the kids to an audition, and they booked their very first thing. So she comes to me and she goes, maybe you're just not that good. This is easy.
Thanks, honey.
This is nothing. So I was like, you handle. So she handles that, and that's no. So
how's she involved in the business?
Well, she's very supportive. Number one, she's an incredible wife. That because I'm on the road a lot.
Sure.
Not as much as I used to be, but I'm still out here quite a bit. So that's that's kind of hard to do. And the kids have a career of their own going back in California doing the acting. And she runs with them. She's the one that really runs with them, takes them to their auditions and makes sure that they're working.
But she has to be there, right? Because they're underage, right?
She does. We're lucky. My mom lives out there too in California now too. Yes. So Grandma gets to go to set if she's busy with one of the other kids. So it works out. But somebody does have to be on set because they are a minor. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what things can you tell people that are up and coming? That a lot of us here, we just do it for fun.
Sure.
But there are folks that want to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Well, I think the thing you hear over and over is perseverance. Never stop. Like with me, it has been hard. I mean, there's been times when I'm thinking, God, am I doing the right thing here? Is this right? But as long as you don't stop, and you got to love what you do. And I've loved it since I was 9 years old. So I continue to go. I continue to every day, to enjoy what I do. And I'm out there. I never stop. I really do. I push. I'm always working on new material.
Right.
That's important. And I would say the number one thing is to perform wherever you can. When I was first starting, once racquetball stopped,
Right.
I said, God, now I'm get the dummy. I pull out one of the old dummies. I'll brush them off. And I go,
Right.
I'm going to try to go and do an open mic. Go to a comedy club.
Sure.
I would go to coffee shops where they had open mic nights.
Sure.
As much stage time as I could get.
Right.
I'd get on stage and I would just, you get better every time. Every time you're on stage, you learn. Even to this day, every time I'm on there, I learn something new.
So what formal training did you have before you started doing any of this magician's work? Was there any formal training?
No.
Is there any value to that formal training?
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, especially if you're doing traditional acting. Like my kids are in acting classes.
Sure.
And they've done very well, and I think it's really helped them. When you're doing the magic, I should take it back. I did take what's called a ventriloquist chorus.
Right.
And that was pretty neat. At the time, it was done in the mail. And it was this whole big chorus. It was interesting. It was like one of the things in the back of a magazine where it says, fool your friends, throw your voice, be the life of the party. I ordered that when I was 9 or 10.
Right.
And they sent me a pretty thorough course on how to do ventriloquism, how to throw your voice.
Right.
And I read this thing and I studied it and I really graduated from it. They send you the certificate.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, and I remember my grandma she had one grandson became an attorney.
Right.
And she used to always make fun of me. Not make fun of me, but she always thought it was so funny. She would be like, and my other grandson graduated from the course of ventriloquism. And she had that certificate, I think, in her house. I gave it to her.
Sounds like an Abbott Costello film.
Right. I have an attorney and a ventriloquist. My one grandson, he plays with dolls for a living.
Okay. Okay, where is he?
See?
Yeah. Oh, I think maybe we should let him out. What's your name? What's your name?
There you go. That's the voice throwing. Oh, that's fun. I used to throw my voice in school, elevators.
Oh, yeah?
You know where else is fun?
Yeah.
Funerals.
Funerals?
Yes.
Were you the class clown?
I'm not dead yet.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I really was. I had a teacher one semester that I would make her leave the classroom because she heard voices always screaming outside. And she was the most serious teacher of all of them. And all the kids knew, of course, it was me.
Right.
She didn't know for an entire semester.
Nobody let on.
No. Nobody. They were great. I mean, an entire class of kids. They're all like...
Yeah.
And she would go in and she'd scream at the other teacher, your students are talking loud. Then it got to the point where she finally ignored it.
Right.
And I would go in there every day and I'd try to throw my voice and I would be straining to get louder and louder, She would just ignore it. But you could see she was about to just...
Right.
And finally an article came out about racquetball at the time. I was still in high school and it was about racquetball. And it said, my hobbies are magic and ventriloquism.
Right.
And she read this.
So
after
she
class, she
figured it
goes, Andy, can you stay after class?
out? Uh-oh.
I was like, sure. She goes, I read the article. It was really nice. No, thanks. She goes, and don't ever do your ventriloquism in my class again. And I was like, okay. And that was it. I think I got a C maybe that semester, though.
Okay.
What
How about your daughter? You said your daughter acts.
Yeah, all my kids got into the...
How many kids you got there?
I've got 4 that I know of.
Four?
No, I've got 4.
No,
I've got, travel a lot. No. I've got 4 kids. So,
and they look like you, sort of.
yeah, they all do. Well, they really look like my wife.
Okay.
No, I've got 4 kids, and all of them got into the entertainment. They all did. They got into... My son did a lot of acting, a lot of commercials, and he's now in a folk band called Cape Sable. And he's doing a little touring himself now and doing really well. And then I have 3 other daughters, younger daughters. And the one oldest daughter, who's 12 now, she's had the most notoriety, I guess, out of the acting because she had some big parts. She was in... she played John Cusack's daughter in that movie 2012.
Right.
And that was a big part for her. That was
absolutely.
It was a good one. And then she was young Mystique in the X-Men last year.
Really? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So she's done some pretty cool stuff. In fact, she's funny. I do a lot of corporate shows.
Right.
And I do, all kind of different places. And when she was filming the X-Men, it was going to be filmed in London. So she comes to me. I was in town, and she was getting ready to to jet off to London first class, right, to go
Oh,
film the
gee.
X-Men. And I was getting ready to fly to Iowa to do the Cattleman Convention.
Okay.
So she was 9 years old at the time. She goes, so Dad, how's your career going?
Oh, dear. Thanks a lot, honey.
I'm going to go sit in the last row of a plane, you know, and she's going first class to London. But it was, she had beautiful. I went there and visited her. That was really neat.
Yeah.
You know, and she was there for a long time, so we were like tourists over there for a while, which was really neat.
How do you keep your kids grounded?
You know, I think people come up to me and they always ask me, they say, you know, what if she gets crazy? So, you know, is not grounded.
Right.
And I think it has a lot to do with parenting. You know, I really do. And we, you know, she's a normal kid to us.
Right.
We treat her like she's a normal kid. That's it. She doesn't get any special treatment around the house.
So she has responsibilities too,
yeah,
like everyone
she does,
else. Right.
Yeah. I mean, she is homeschooled. They're homeschooled.
Understand, yes.
You know, because she was working a lot. She tried to go to regular school and got thrown out for throwing her voice. No.
I wonder what
She
you
did.
get.
No, she went to
Right.
regular school. She
Yeah.
and she wanted to. She really did, but she was working. You know, thankfully,
sure.
she loves what she does. So, you know, I think that it's a lot with the parenting. I think we've been pretty grounded. Never did anything too crazy. I really haven't, and I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
How do you get the corporate gigs?
This is an interesting thing. There's a lot of agents around the country that do this. The corporate shows for corporate entertainment became pretty big, you know, quite a few years ago. A lot of people started doing these corporate shows. It was a big form of entertainment. So a lot of agents are all around the country. And different agents will book me. They'll call me up. They kind of know me from, you know, just from performing. You get a referral here. And also when you perform at a company, they usually have a lot of these flies going nuts here.
He's gonna kill him.
They have a lot of referrals you get. So there'll be a lot of other businessmen at the company parties, and then they'll come up to you afterwards and say, "Hey, we're having our company party next year." And so that's how you get a lot of it.
Right.
Love those though. Those are great.
Oh, absolutely.
They're really fun.
Do you do a lot of advertising or no?
No, I don't. That's the thing. You don't do that much. I mean, between the agents and the referrals, that's the big thing.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, the last few years, with the economy the way things are, some companies have kind of slowed down. But for the most part, you know, it's huge to keep the keep the employee morale up.
Absolutely. Oh,
I mean, to have those parties, it's a big deal. People wait all year to have their company party, or you know, they're big, so they're fun.
Yeah, sometimes people think of it as a small deal, but no, it really does boost morale.
Oh, it does. I mean, it really does. Yeah. And you know, a lot of them are. It's for the top employees or the top salespeople around the country, and then they fly them all into these beautiful places. And that's one perk you get because you're staying at the same place they are. You know, so you get 5-star resorts I'm staying at. You know, so you're treated really good.
Right.
And then you do your show and you're home. And it's great having with the kids because a lot of times in corporates, you fly in that day, you perform that night, and I'll fly right home the next day.
Great.
So the kids barely even know I'm gone. They're like, "Were you gone?" I'm like, yeah. So that's good because when I'm home, I try to spend as much time with them as you can. You know.
Absolutely. What things would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
That's a good one. I've been blessed with a pretty good life so far, so I've done quite a bit.
Right.
You know what? I love performing, so I like going to these kind of performing arts venues. And as many, I'll do these. And my wife and I were talking about it recently. She goes, "You know what would be really fun when the kids are grown? We should get a big Winnebago, and I'm going to come with you on tour, and we'll continue to tour around the country." And I said, that's an awesome goal. If we could really do that, that would be fantastic. I don't know, you know, so we'll see.
Do you prefer live over TV or film?
Live is my favorite because you can interact with the audience and you play off of their energy.
Absolutely.
You know, so anytime, you know, when you've done television, if there's no audience, it's really hard. I mean, that's the hardest thing. So when you're live and the audience is good, it's nothing better. There's nothing better than a really live, energetic audience because it just makes us as performers do better. But TV is good, though. TV is good for the exposure.
Yes.
So more people come out and see you live.
Absolutely.
You know.
What things do you do when you're not working?
Ooh. You know, I spend as much time as I can with the kids. I really do. Because when I do come home, it's not like I have a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So I'll spend time with them. And anytime I can go when they're working, you know, go on set with them. Or if I can take them to auditions and things like that, I'll run with them as much as I can. And that's really it. Between the traveling and playing with the kids so much, that keeps me busy. It really does. I used to fly these little radio-controlled airplanes I used to love. Right. But in recent years, I haven't done that as much. My brother's, you know, he's still single, and he's like, "Boy, what are you doing all the time? Why are you always busy?" I said, "Well, there's always something, you know."
Yeah, right.
Even in my downtime, I'm doing something, you know. So got to do that.
Tell me some stories that have happened on stage that didn't go quite as planned. Interesting ones that you don't mind telling.
That haven't gone as planned. You know, I've had guys. One time I was working with a dummy,
Yep.
and well, that's not. You don't call him
Right.
a dummy. You call him a mannequin American.
Right.
So there you go. And I'm sitting there doing the routine, and there's a guy in the front row,
Right.
and he was heckling me just
Yeah.
a little bit, which I
Sure.
don't get a lot of.
Yeah.
So the dummy came back at him with something,
Right.
and then the guy came back with something, and the dummy came back at something,
Mm-hmm.
and then it started to get a little bit heated,
Right.
really kind of out of control, to where the guy was, he was drinking a little
Right.
bit, and he was getting a little upset. It was a comedy club,
Right.
so finally I said to the guy, I go, look, I don't want any trouble,
Right.
And he looks at me and he goes, you stay out of it. I'm talking to him. I was like, I'm thinking, wait a second. Is he
And he's
serious?
serious?
I think
You don't
so.
know?
I think so. To this day, I'm pretty sure he was.
Oh my goodness.
The security really did come
Right.
and take him. He was awfully,
Right.
I don't know what he was doing, but he was, that's kind of a true story too. That's happened, and a few times, when you're doing magic and you're doing it
Right.
live, things do go wrong.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
That girl, they never did put her back together. Never put her back together. No, things can go wrong, but for the most part, you get pretty good at covering
Yeah.
when you make mistakes.
Sure.
And it's like anything, you just keep going,
Yeah.
and hopefully they don't notice. Hopefully they don't see that.
Or you use it and move on. And
Yeah, in my act, there's a lot of comedy. At least I hope there's a lot of
Sure.
comedy in the show, so I can turn almost anything into a comedy.
Right.
If you can, and usually you can. I've had people on stage kind of bust me on a trick. They're like, "I know what you're doing." I'm like, "Shh, I know what you're doing. You're taking that same card right there." I'm like, "Get out of here." They do that occasionally, and I
Yeah.
always say, I go, and it's interesting because people come out to a magic show,
Sure.
and they're always trying to mess with the magician.
Sure.
And I go, you don't go to the ballet and trip the dancers,
Right.
right? So why do you come out to a magic show and try to mess them up?
So what is it about comedy that people want to do that? Not really empowered, but it's okay to maybe try to mess up the magician. Why is that?
I don't know. I have to say, most people that do come to the magic show, they really do come just to enjoy it.
Sure.
And that's the way to do it. Not try to figure it out. Because
Right.
most people, I always tell people this, and it's no secret. Look, if you really think about it, you'll probably get a good idea of how most tricks are
Right.
done. I hate to say it, but we're not really magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
Where's
Chris,
your wand?
maybe Chris
Yeah.
Angel, I don't know.
Yeah,
but most people understand that. So if you
Right.
think about it, you'll probably say, okay, wait, he didn't really cut her in half. But if you come just to enjoy it and sit back and just kind of suspend your disbelief
Sure.
and just watch a show and have a good time, that's the way to do it. And those are the best audiences. And usually people that come to a magic show, most of them, 99% of them, really come to enjoy themselves. But there's always one person out there going, I see the
Yeah.
wire. I see the wire. I like the ones that come up to me after the show and go, hey, that was pretty good, but I saw the girl, sneak out the back when she really didn't. And I know, I know how eyes,
Right,
how it's done.
right.
I'm like, oh, well, thank you, And they swear, I saw
Right.
her go out the back. I go, okay, thanks.
What else?
I'll watch that angle next time. But, she really didn't.
Right.
So
What are more interesting places that you've been?
I went
Professionally,
to Barcelona last year for a corporate show,
Okay.
which was kind of fun. Anytime you go out of the country for some of those shows,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
fun. Used to do some cruise ships. They were fun. But I really like coming to towns like right where we are right now.
Really?
Yeah, because they're smaller towns. The people here
Sure.
are so appreciative when you come.
Absolutely.
The audiences are great. So you can't beat it. Fred and I have been traveling and doing this last month, a lot of different theaters and
Yes.
small. We even did a small club down in, where were we, LaGrange? I think it might have been LaGrange,
Okay.
Texas it was. It was maybe 5,000 people. But a lot of people came out, and the whole
Right.
town, 5,000 people.
Wow.
So a lot of people
Yeah.
came out and really supported it, and they loved it. They were probably one of the greatest audiences we've had in a long time.
Wow. So you just never know, just because of the size of the area, population,
You don't know. Yeah,
culture.
you don't
You just
know.
don't know.
You can't really tell.
Really.
You can't. But the small, the mid-sized towns are really fun because they don't get to see this all the time live.
No.
You go to a big town like from LA.
Right.
No matter what I did, people are like, I
Right.
could come out on a real flying carpet, and they'd be like, saw it.
Right.
No big deal. But you go to these other towns, and they don't get to see this stuff every day. And maybe David Copperfield doesn't even come into that town when he's
Right.
touring.
Right.
So now they're seeing a nice quality magic show, comedy, and some juggling
Sure.
and all this stuff. They enjoy it. They really enjoy it.
I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, thank
Conroe.
you. This
We're
is
going to ask the
great.
question we ask everyone.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be real answer
All right.
if you want. But if heaven exists, What do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
Think about this one. If heaven exists, what do I want God to say? Oh, that's a good one.
It says, I figured it out. I figured it out.
Yeah.
And that's not a real dummy.
He might say, what if he said, I saw that girl sneak out the back?
Oh, dear. That was
I
you?
said, no, she didn't. What are you talking about? You should know. You should know how it's done. I don't know. You know, you try to do the best you can, and
Sure.
then we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully I can do this for a long, long time.
Thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
It's
here
fun.
with us.
Thanks.